Hello everyone and welcome to Maple Leaf Reviews. I'm Jeffrey Weber and I'm joined with...
David Minkin.
And today we're going to be doing a before and after where we take a look at a game before and after our very first play. Today it is Calimala. Now this is a game I picked up for the sole fact of its action selection mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to be placing these discs out on these different action spaces and you're going to take two associated actions, but then every disc underneath is going to get to activate and take those actions again. That was the thing that drew me in and got me to purchase this game.
Absolutely. This is the number one thing that I'm looking forward to experiencing with this game. But I have to say, I think my anticipation going into this game, I haven't bought the game. The other thing being is that it plays minimum of 3 players.
Right.
So for me, that's kind of a bit of a deterrent because frankly speaking, if it played 2, we would have done this video a week ago.
Yeah.
Right? So we had to wait until we had a big enough player count to go. For me, this is a game that I'm worried that I'm going to like it less as the game goes on.
And why is that, David?
The reason why is, as you mentioned, you got this action selection mechanism where the discs start getting stacked. And once you get to the stack, when you place the 4th disc on top, then the bottom one kind of gets spit out and he's going to trigger a scoring.
Yeah.
And that disc not only triggers a scoring that's going to be randomly laid out, it's also going to stay there for the rest of the game to possibly be used as a tie break for future scorings. I just see that this game is going to, perhaps, especially for me, maybe not so much for you, induce just a ton of AP.
Right.
And like any game that I find where you actually have these follow actions, it can also be followed by a lot of dead time if you're not involved with that.
Right.
So that's one thing. The second thing is this random drawing of an action card. So
yeah, that was one of the other things that I noticed immediately after reading the rulebook was it's have no fear. Action cards are here. If you can't do an action because of, say, you've placed your disc and then someone activates it later and you can't take one of those actions, you get an action card.
Right.
And so you never have to be worried about losing out on not taking an action because you're going to get an action card which has all the actions again, so you might be able to use it later on to kind of combo things together on a turn.
So at the beginning of the game, I don't have a problem with this because it's just a random draw, and I think there's 9 different types of action cards you can get.
I think so.
So you can draw the card, and I think that might actually influence maybe the direction that you're going. You're like, wow, I've drawn 3 of the same action card. Maybe I'll start thinking about doing that a little bit more. But again, going with my comment, being worried that I'm going to like the game less as it goes on, near the end of the game, I don't want this to be like a Hail Mary. We're all sudden like, whoa, I got exactly what I needed. I won in 9 chance. And so I'm a little bit worried about that. And so then that's one mechanism. Beginning of the game, I don't have a problem with. Near the end of the game, once things are starting to kind of get rolling, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, that is one random element that's going to be consistent throughout the game. The other thing that got me excited when I was looking at the game was the action efficiency. You only have so many discs that you're going to place throughout the game. So it's going to be about very tactical and strategic placements because then it's going to activate potentially a few more times throughout the game, but you're not going to be able to move it. So if you put that in a bad spot or if you only focus on certain things, you're going to be left out of different actions.
Yes, and you know what's also interesting that's kind of jumped out to me about these action mechanisms is if you can take an action, you must take the action.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how that's going to play out because it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Ora Labora when you take something and the whole wheel just moves. And so similarly here, if someone is planning on doing something and all of a sudden, whoops, but no, now you need to do your resources by a trading house or whatever, and they were planning on doing something completely different. I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to play out in the game as well.
The other thing that I thought when reading through the rules was there's kind of an action investment here as well, because if you place one of your own colored discs, it potentially could activate up to 3 more times, giving you a total of 6 actions. So you're placing it down and hopefully that investment will pay out throughout. Or you could just take a one-time big withdrawal with these white action discs that you can place. You get double the actions right now, but it won't activate for you again in future turns. So I think figuring out when to use those white discs, because they also won't count for when you score going to make those seats that are tiebreakers. So figuring out when to use those discs, I think will be an interesting point in the game.
Exactly, because it's not just an action investment; it's a scoring investment as well.
Yeah.
Talking about scoring, though, how do you feel about these hidden objectives, these hidden scoring objectives? Because I'm going to just jump to my conclusion real quick. Again, my comment, I'm like, I might like this game less as it plays on. The very end game scoring, when people reveal what they've been working towards, not a fan. Yeah. I'm not looking forward to that at all.
It reminded me of another game, Trois, where each player has a random scoring card, and at the end of the game, people are going to reveal them, and then everybody is going to score for those different majorities. The one thing that I think is a positive for these endgame scoring cards is that they're very easy to remember. There's 10 regions on the board. Each of the cards is an area majority for each one of the different regions. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, oh, you need to have 2 cubes here and 3 cubes here to score this many points.
Gotcha.
It's not a difficult thing to remember. So I think it might be easy to see where people are trying to go for and try and get in. I don't think it's going to be necessarily, oh, I'm going to beat somebody on their own in-game card. It's going to be, I just want to get in and get those 3 or 1 victory points.
Then why not just have it open? You know, if it's that easy to determine, like, I'm not playing liar's dice here. I'm not playing a bluffing game. I'm not trying to hide my intentions under a cloud, a veil of uncertainty. I just want to play the game. And if I see that you're building an efficient engine, I want to get in on that, vice versa. Yeah. So for me, these hidden end game scoring objectives, they never sit well with me. So I'm curious to see if this will introduce different elements of the gameplay that wouldn't exist otherwise.
Right.
And that will be in a positive direction for me. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm not a huge fan of the hidden nature either. I don't think it's going to be that impactful throughout the game, but, well, that's my hope, at least.
Right.
So going in, my expectations is I think I'm going to enjoy the game. I think it's going to be kind of a winding up or winding down of a game day type game where you pull it out, you get a quick play in. I don't think this is one that's going to grab me and just beg to be played over and over and over again. But I think it's just going to be a nice, enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I have high expectations because a lot of people whose opinion I value and trust on social media and Board Game Geek speak very highly of the game. So I'm very excited to try the game. I'm also really looking forward to all the different area control opportunities. I think that'll be really neat, and trying to look through the weeds as to, okay, which scoring can I really focus on and develop the best. So I think, that'll speak to you, the efficiencies of trying to build things. So honestly, going in, I'm positive because people, again, I trust, I have positive reviews, but I'm also hesitant.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get it to the table and come back and see what we think of Calimala.
Let's do it.
Hello everyone and welcome back. We just finished our first play of Calimala. Now we played it 3-player and it took us 1 hour and 7 minutes. Not bad. It's actually pretty close to the advertised time on the box, which was 1 hour and 15.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into our first impressions. I'll start off and say this game was everything that I thought it would be. It lived up to its expectations in every single way.
And what did you think it was going to be? I know you already talked about that, but where does this game fit on your shelf?
So going into the action selection, I really like that whole triggering mechanism of everything underneath. And especially that action investment that I talked about of putting your piece in key action slots so that it gets triggered again and again and again. And then it gets moved over to the scoring phase. That was pretty key, and I made some very poor investments with my actions, which I paid for throughout the game.
Yes, and I need to say, before on this video, I said that this was a game I was anticipating that I would like less as the game played out. No, I enjoyed this game more as it played out. And part of the reason, this action selection, I thought it was so key, like what Jeffrey's mentioning is that investment in there, is with 3 players, we found that myself and the other player, we were quite synergistic with the action selection places that we were choosing to go. And in that way, we were cycling through multiple actions and also getting our discs onto the council board a lot more efficiently than what you were, because you were kind of off by yourself and we didn't really care about you so much. And so then you weren't getting your discs out there. So we were even able to trigger scoring between him and I that kind of left you out, and not because you didn't have any little cubes there, but because you lost a tie break.
Well, I think the key thing for me that I thought during the game was, okay, I don't want to invest where you guys are invested because that gives you a bonus, but you already had invested there, so I should have actually put my disc there because I knew that you would go there again to then trigger yourself. So I kind of like stayed away. But that was not the right play, I think, on my part. Well,
and yeah, the other player that we were playing, I saw that he built a boat right away, and immediately that also goes back to like kind of end game scoring. So immediately right away, like he's broadcasting. Maybe he's one of those 3 port cities. But as soon as he built that boat right away and started taking that boat action, I just started piling my stuff on top of that because it was between boat and brick. And my end of game scoring is one of the trading areas, and so then I'm like, well, this way allows me to get lots of bricks, so I can build all the trading houses that are really need. He's trying to get shipping, so I'm going to jump on top of that. I can't do shipping because I don't have a boat.
So you get those action cards.
I got the action cards, which turned out to be awesome because they provided lots of opportunity for me to do lots of additional stuff. So it wasn't completely wasted at all. So I really enjoyed that. Whereas while him and I were kind of working together, you were completely left out.
Yeah, I like that kind of action card thing because it was something else to try and manipulate in the game. Yeah. You know, do I want to go to a space where I know you can't take the actions, but then I'm giving you unknown actions. Mm-hmm. I don't know what cards you're going to draw. So maybe I want to go to action spaces where I know the actions that you can take. Or for myself, maybe I want to go somewhere and kind of manipulate things so that I get to draw some action cards. So I'm not doing as much this turn, but then I can maybe combo things later on, maybe before a key scoring. The scorings were also really cool. I think it kind of changes the pace of the game, how they're laid out, what people are focusing on at different times, when to trigger those scorings. Yeah. I'm in the lead. I want to trigger this, but how am I going to trigger it? Is it this stack or this stack? If I go there, it's going to give him actions before the scoring gets triggered. Maybe then he's going to beat me out.
I can change the game state now with that action.
So there were a lot simple actions, but difficult decisions.
Yes, exactly. And I thought one of the reasons why I thought that this game would be something I would like less as the game went on, I thought that the AP would explode once these stacks started getting higher. I didn't find that to be the case at all because the actions themselves are so simple. Yeah. And it's very clearly, lots of times, especially in a 3-player game, if I'm out in the lead and you got the other player that's slightly behind me, well, now I'm preferentially looking for stuff that will help you because I'd rather you kind of catch up to second as opposed to second catching up to first or whatever it might be. So I found it actually gave me lots of focus as well. So I found that all the problems that I thought might arise never did. But that being said, is with those cards, at the very end of the game, again, I drew 2 cards and they were the wagon where I could deliver out to the trading post, and it allowed me to steal majority away from your end of game. Yeah. And I drew 2 of them in one turn, was able to make some deliveries to steal some points. It wouldn't have made a difference in the game.
You still won by a lot.
But at the same token, I don't like that. That was one of those, it was a random draw that helped me, and if it was a close game, I wouldn't have liked that.
Well, yeah, I think so. Going on to the in-game scoring, because that was something that I was a little bit lukewarm on and you weren't a huge fan of, is I think maybe we telegraphed a little bit too early what we wanted to do. I think that's something that I would change in a subsequent play. I wouldn't immediately take the action that kind of pinpoint, that's my in-game scoring card, and kind of maybe just wait to the end to jump in and try and get the majority on my card.
But that being said, you still get a lot of information right when you're choosing these cards. So here's a few things. First of all, you already know what all the scoring phases are going to be. Yeah. Those tiles are already laid out when you're choosing your cards. So when I was looking at my cards, I was trying to find an area where my card, my end-of-game scoring card, plus the in-game scoring tile, I was trying to find something where that in-game scoring tile was sandwiched in between a bunch of stuff that it would just look natural that you wanted to be there in the first place. Yeah. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 was one of the common card that we all got to score that was face up beginning of the game was one of the top buildings there. Yeah. And then in my hand, I had another one of the top buildings. So then I knew if I didn't choose that one's gone. If anyone else had one of the top buildings, it would be broadcast. So it's almost like
a deduction.
A deduction. And so then that's how I ended up choosing my starting card. So I liked that, and that was a part of the game that I actually didn't anticipate when we were choosing our blind cards. But at the end of the game, all of us knew where
each other's cards were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall I really enjoyed the game. I think it kind of fit in with what I was thinking would be kind of a winding up or winding down game. yeah, I think overall really enjoyed it. Would look to play it again.
Yeah, and for me, I think I would like to play it with more players.
Yeah.
With 3 players, I found, again, what we were talking about was one person's left out.
Right.
And whereas once you get 4 or 5 players, then if one person's left out, well, they'll find another buddy that they can team up with. And I think you'll find more synergies crisscrossing across the table.
I think, too, it kind of highlighted how left out I was just based on my poor play. Because I was specifically choosing my own areas to go rather than trying to piggyback off of your guys. I should have adapted to where you guys were going and then gotten some extra actions.
Right. But yeah, definitely enjoyable game. If we play it again for 3, sure. I'm not going to ask for it.
Right.
If you say we've got 4 or 5 players, sign me up. I'm ready to play it.
All right. Well, that's our first impressions of Calimala. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys next time.